All right. So we're going to talk about avoiding mistakes in this industry. Before we get into these 7 things that I want to talk about, I want to talk about the top portion. Okay. You see HI up there. What I want you to understand is that we all need to be hyper intentional about our business if we're ever going to avoid these 7 mistakes. If you're not hyper intentional in your business and on your business, you're going to be more susceptible and prey to these 7 mistakes. Now, what I mean by in your business, on your business, you'll see beside in, I went and wrote systems. When you are hyper intentional in your business, you are establishing systems, protocols, principles, how-tos of your business. Then you're going to get to the place that you're going to be hyper intentional on your business. And that's going to be results of your business. In the results of your business, you're going to be able to measure whether your systems in place are what they need to be, or do you need to make some adjustments? Okay, I'm saying this because it really sets up these 7 things. So you got to be hyper intentional in and on your business. All right. There's an old saying: if it's not broke, don't break, don't try to fix it. Right? It's kind of old cliche. How many know Rick Pitino? One of my favorite basketball coaches. I know he had a little bit of thing with his marriage back in the day, but besides that, he used to coach at Kentucky, Louisville, NBA, and nice with St. John's. And I've read 2 of his books over the years, and one of his books he talked about that very thing, that old saying: if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. His concept is break it and fix it. And that's really what you do in the working on your business, is you're breaking something because you've established the systems in place, whether you've got a certain way of outreach, certain way to attract leads, a certain way to do business, communication, whatever it may be. And you just notice that the results aren't quite there in that category. So what you end up doing is adjusting that category, or you abolish that category. One way or the other. I either adjust it or I'll blow it up. One way or the other. You've got to be able to make quick decisions in any business, and especially this one. Times are changing. The way I used to think about this business in 2018 is different in 2024. A lot of competition, not just with me, you, and the average local people, but national people, right? A lot of different ways of doing this business. People are out there kind of just doing hybrids of this business. It's real different. The industry in itself is different. The cost factor, the care, who's providing care. In my area, a lot more care homes, even though there was a lot when I first started, there's a lot more opportunities. So you got to be hyper intentional in on your business. Okay, that being said, I want to get that out of the way because I don't want to just dive into these 7 things. And these are the things you came for today, and we're going to get to that just right now. But everybody understand that? So I like hyper intentional real quick, because hyper means energetic. You're excited. And if you don't wake up in the morning smiling about your business and smiling about being intentional, deliberate about the things you're going to do, then it's not going to be any fun. And plus, what's going to happen is you're not going to focus on the in and the on. You're just going to kind of go, well, if it happens, it happens. So, all right, let me give you the things. Here we go. And again, you want us to be interactive. If you have questions, ask me a question, raise your hand or put it in the chat, whatever you want to do. I will give you right down the line things to not focus on. Don't focus on these things. Now, in this don't focus column, doesn't mean you don't provide any attention. It's not what I mean. But I mean, don't focus on it. Don't let these areas consume you. You have to give some of these areas, if not all of them, some attention, especially the first one, or you'll be out of business or not have a business altogether. But don't put your focus on them, okay? So the first one is don't focus on, and this is going to be a shock for you. And some of you are going to be like, that's the very thing I'm focusing on from day one. And the first one is leads. Don't focus on leads, rather focus on brand. Focus on you. Focus on who you are. And many of you know That's what I did at the very beginning, 2018, my business is and I'm not gonna go into it in this video and this time with you today unless you want me to later, but there's 4 things I established that made myself different from other senior placement agencies in my area. Many of you want to follow the crowd and do things like other people do it. And I've told you many times before, your superpower is yourself. No one is like you. No one can ever be you. So focus on your brand. When you focus on your brand, you're inevitably going to get attention. If you get attention, you're inevitably going to get leads. I've told many of you over time, now it's not the way I started my business. Many of you know when I started my business, I was just going from skilled nursing to skilled nursing. I was just out and about with my phone, doing social media. The whole story you've heard 1,000 times. All right. I was doing all that. But over time, I established that now I was establishing a brand. I really didn't know it at the time. I wasn't deliberate in doing that. But over time, I started to establish a brand. And now the brand brings me attention. And not only brings me attention, it brings me leads. So I don't have to necessarily be as aggressive in getting leads. I'm just focusing on my brand. Now I focus on the senior home business, obviously, but also my placement business and other things that I'm doing. But it all comes back to brand. And if you're doing multiple things, real estate in this business, that's the best way to do it anyway. If you don't establish your brand and you don't focus on your brand, you're just focusing on leads and you're trying to do multiple things, then that's gonna be a bad day for you. You're not going to be as effective if you're doing that. You've got to focus on your brand. And one thing I'm gonna focus on is putting a bullet through my AI camera. Everything's better until it's not, right? Everything's, oh man, best thing in the world. Oh, it's the best $300, $400 camera you go buy with AI. It's awesome. And thing's about to blow it up. So don't focus on leads, focus on brand. The second one is don't focus on the details, but rather focus on the big picture. If I can spell it right. Focus on the big picture. Now, what sense does that really make? It makes a lot of sense, even though I had an old boss a long time ago. I heard every single day of my life until the day I went on to do something else. This guy would always say, Matt, it's all in the details. It's all about the details. I heard that every single day. And I get what he's talking about. I'm not saying, again, don't provide any attention to details. You have to, but your focus, that's the key word, your focus has got to be on the big picture of what you're doing. So many people get lost and they can't establish a really good landing page. They can't really establish a really good website. They can't establish a really good post. They can't establish a really good whatever you want to put in the blank. And they're so consumed about the details, they don't move out and do the very thing they're called to do, want to do, because they don't see the big picture. You realize the post that you do today, do a post today. You know how many people are going to care about that post by tomorrow? No one. You know how many people are going to see that post? Hardly any. They don't care about it. Once you get over knowing that it's not really what people think of you and your business, but it's what I think, because the big picture is I'm in the business helping seniors. Now, again, do I provide any attention to details? Sure. I want things spelled right. I want things look right. I want colors to be, ask Josh. We talk about these things. But that's not my primary focus. My focus is how can I move the ball down the field and get things accomplished? See, focusing on the details, you're focusing on maybe one lead at a time. I want to focus on events and think, now don't take the word events. I know some of you that was a buzzword. You think, okay, Matt's doing events again. I'm not doing events, but I'm focused on bigger things that are going to draw in more leads. Now, I'm trying something just yesterday because I heard a couple of my students say this. I'll let you know how it works out. I'm spending $10 a day on Nextdoor for the next 30 days, so $300, and I blasted all of California. Chris and I met yesterday, and I showed him, I think, Chris, out of what, 2,000 impressions, I had like 5 clicks or something like that. No leads at this point. That was just only one day. Just try it was one day. So that's just $10. If something like that would work, maybe, and it has worked, I guess, with some other students, then that's cool. That might be a way you want to do it. But you got to see the big picture. And so the big picture for me is I'm not focusing just on the details of my little area. I focus on the whole state of California. So my students are focusing on multiple areas, and you might want to do that as well. But your mind, when you wake up, here I'm getting at this. When you wake up in the morning, do you dive right into the details of your business? Or do you focus on the big picture of what you're doing? You see, when I told you earlier that there's 4 things that made me different than any referral agent in my area because I did that intentionally, that's because I was focused on the big picture. If I was focused on details, I'd be more concentrated on, I need a good website, I need my business card done just right. And I've told you guys several times, my website was terrible. It was a cheap website. Number 2, my business card, I wish I had a copy of it. Maybe I can go back into, what's that thing I used? I can't remember now. I used it online. Vistaprint, I think it was. Maybe I can go back in there and pull it up. Maybe it's got an old one. I had this ugly black card. I thought it looked so great online, and it was atrocious when I got it in the mail. But I still passed it out, and it was still me. But if I got focused on the details, I'd be like, oh, I can't pass out that card. I can go back and change some things. And I would just be spinning my wheels, and week after week, I wouldn't be getting anything. So focus on the big picture. All right, number 3, the mistakes that referral agents make, and this one here is big. They focus on short-term success versus, excuse me, getting in front of the camera, long-term impact. It goes right along with the big picture. But instead of short-term success, people want 3 move-ins 1 month. I did that. Multiple students in my community have done that. Some have not. Some have taken months. But it's seeing the big picture and coming down here, whether I have short-term success or whether I have a long-term impact is going to change my thought process. It's going to change how I do business. And this is a mistake that a lot of people make. And how I know that, in my own area, I hear about people on occasion, not I hear everything, but I hear on occasion sometimes somebody's new into the business. Oh, I'm getting my feet wet. I'm so excited. A year later, they're out of business. I told this story at least once, maybe twice. If you heard, I apologize. But I had this discharge planner in my area. This was a couple of years ago. And she called me to let me know that she would not be giving me leads anymore. And my first impression, probably your first impression, is like, well, what did I do wrong to not get leads? I mean, what did I do to tick you off? I mean, I thought we were, I thought kind of like this was a good thing. She goes, oh, no, you didn't do anything wrong. She goes, what I'm doing is I'm gonna start doing what you're doing. I said, oh, okay, great. So she got into it. Literally 12 months later, the girl who's a discharge planner of a major hospital, St. Agnes Medical Hospital here in Fresno, California. Her first name's Tanya. I'm gonna tell you her last name. I ain't gonna go no further, but this is a real person doing real business. 12 months later, is not doing anything. Completely out of business because she had a short-term success mentality. She saw ones like myself, and not only me, but others that are successful in this business in my area. She's racking up the dollar account, going, okay, I know what they're making per move in. I know what she knew what she was making, obviously, from her salary. And she's like, well, yeah, I can just do this. But you got to have a long-term impact mentality. See, when I got into this business, I did not get into it, even though, okay, let me back up. When I got into it, I had to leave an assisted living community I was working with, right? I told you a story about it'd be a conflict of interest. Okay. So I had urgency. So I had to make money. So I think that urgency really transpired into me getting 3 move-ins the first month. I really did. However, if I didn't get 3 move-ins the first month, I still would be in the business because I had a long-term impact mentality. I was going to do it anyway. Why was I going to do it anyway? It's something I really enjoyed doing when I was working for the community, something I felt like I was good at. But then also I saw the potential. I saw the potential in this, and it's even greater today than it was back in 2018. But you saw the potential of it. So it's like anything. You give something, you give an opportunity. How many on this workshop today? Don't raise your hand. You ain't got to say and disclose it. I mean, but I'm sure a number of us, if we were being honest, we've all tried something and gave it a reasonable amount of time to be successful, only to turn away to do something else. Because we had a short-term success mentality. Now, some of us had to change direction, change of heart. We get later on in life, we don't do something else. I get that. But some of us, if you're like me, I know I did that in the past. I'd walk away from something because man, things just not working. And I've been doing it for a number of weeks or a number of months. In my mind, it's like it's not working. You got to have a long-term impact mentality. Okay. The C is the word can't. And instead, the M is must. Can't, this is something you've got to avoid of making the mistake, is telling yourself repeatedly that you can't do something. Meaning, because you got a short-term success, this kind of things follow along. You got a short-term success mentality. It's not working right away. So your immediate thought is, I can't. Doesn't work for me. I know it works for others. Then you start personalizing it. You start thinking like there's something wrong with you. And instead of saying I got a long-term impact mentality, so I must do this. You would have a very different approach to anything in life if you knew the outcome was a matter of life and death. If I knew that I needed to get a move in this month in August, let's say August, which I know I will, but I mean, let's say I'm starting all over again, and I needed to get one move in August, or I was going to die. I think I get a move in. I think a lot of us, and that's drastic, I know, but I think a lot of us don't have the urgency. And we not only don't have the urgency, but we give up too soon. Some of us, I believe, over time, that quit, kind of like maybe that discharge planner after 12 months. Who knows? A year later, she might be amazing. I don't know all her contacts, but I thought she was a pretty good discharge planner. She seemed like she knew the process a little bit, at least. She kind of knew what I did to a certain degree. Maybe she made some mistakes along the way. Maybe she just lost interest. I don't know. But she probably got to the point of thinking she can't do it. And when you have that mentality that you can't do it, guess what? You're right. But when you have the mentality that I must do something to get it done, you're right as well. So it's waking up with that urgency. And you can't have that urgency if your focus is mainly on, again, leads is important, guys. I'm not trying to minimize leads. That's why I put it up there up front, kind of get it out of the way, because I know it's gonna be a shock. And but that's never my focus. To kind of go back to leads, I'll tell you this, when leads are your focus, your voice changes on the phone. When leads are your focus, there's something about you personally and me, we start acting just a little bit different. I'll give you an example about the senior home business. At times, I'll get people that will act like on the other end of the phone, I need what they have. Now, hear me out on this. I'm sometimes now. I'm grateful for ones like you. I'm grateful for most of the people I talk to on the phone on this side of the business that are very sweet people. But I do talk to some, and I talked to one just the other day, about 2 or 3 days ago. That's why it's kind of fresh in my mind. They act like I need what they have. And I refuse to accept that kind of money. That I need what they have, meaning like they're going to call the shots. They're going to do. I mean, I'm very helpful, I think, right? I'm very available, I think. I try to do the right thing, but you can tell kind of the underlying thing. I give you an example. Some of you guys follow Grant Cardone, I know, and so he tells this story of this guy that gave a huge investment. I don't know what the investment was. I think it was somewhere around $10 million, something like that. And the guy gave the investment. And of course, Grant's got this whole thing. He just puts the money out there in apartments, and Cardone Capital kicks money back to you. I'm not involved with it, not endorsing it. I'm just telling you a story of not to take money from somebody that kind of goes out there. So this guy invested like $10 million. Well, within like the first week, he sent someone out there to Grant's operational building, right? His office. And he wanted that guy to do his due diligence. And Grant started to know what he was doing. He was just snooping around, and he just wanted to see the books, and he was just wanted to verify everything. And so Grant, according to the story, was very nice and said, "Hey, can I get you a cup of coffee? Want you on some lunch? Man, you stay here as long as you want, stay all day, check things out. I appreciate it." At the end of the day, around 4 o'clock, this guy was going to leave and fly back to where we came from. And Grant had an envelope for him. He said, "Oh, what's this?" He said, "Just take that back to your boss." He said, "I don't understand. Can you tell me what it is?" And what Grant did was he put the investment money in the form of a check in the envelope and tell your boss, "I don't take money like that." See, it's a little different. And when I'm saying, how's that with you and I, when we're talking about placement, there's going to be some people that are actually going to maybe rub you the wrong way. They're going to be rude to you, say things you don't like, and you're going to have to make a decision. Do you work with them or not? If you've been around me 5 minutes, you know that I'm more of an advocate for seniors. I love helping people. But man, if I got somebody that's being outright rude, inconsiderate, hard to deal with, man, I don't chase them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to be around them. That's not my vibe. That's not what I want to do, man. I'm sorry. I don't want that kind of money. There's too many people out there that are great to work with. And you've got to identify those people. So you got to get away from the "I can't do this" to "I must do this." And if you're feeling like you can't do it, it's because you're running against every kind of obstacle out there. You're running at a lead deficiency. You're focusing too much on details. You want a quick response, quick success, which we all do. I get it. I hate the term, and I tell people this sometimes too, because I know what people mean. It's like, it's not get rich quick scheme. I'll tell you what, I like getting rich quick better than, getting rich slow and being broke. And I get what people mean by that. You got to put in the work, sweat equity, all that. It doesn't happen overnight. Most overnight successes are 5 years down the road, right? I mean, that's reality. My place in agency, I started in 2018. So what we're doing, we're just over, let's see, September of this year will be 6 years, right? So 6 years, I started September 2018. So 6 years into the business. That's very different than when I started 6 days into the business. So the things that we're doing successfully, and other students you may see in the senior home business, I would venture to say the ones that are knocking it out of the park are really doing great are ones that have been doing it for a while. We do have some of those overnight successes, but that's rare. That's not the norm. And I tell people that it's just not the norm. So you get away from "I can't" to "I must." Okay. The other one is that you got to get away from is get away from the excuses. That's where "I can't" comes from. I can't. So then you justify the reasons you can't by making all kinds of excuses, instead of you need to focus on solutions. And I would venture to say you focus on solutions not only to your own problems, but problems of other people. The more problems you solve, the more money you're going to make. The more hands you shake, the more money you're going to make. You got to focus on the solutions, not the excuses you're giving yourself why you can't do the business so you can't help somebody else. Because when you go to I can't and you get formulate these excuses, you're all about yourself at that point. And it's hard to be successful in this business, and I think any business, especially this one, if you're formulating these excuses and it's all about you and not focus on the solutions of other people. Now, what does that mean? Let me make it practically. Okay, solutions. We talk a lot about, now again, I don't talk a lot about it because I'm not in the roundtable anymore, but I know when I was and I hear what goes on. I talk to Brittany, I talk to Josh, things like that. So I know there's still, a situation like, okay, what do you do with a low income lead? And I look at the low income leads very differently, maybe than most people. I look at the low income leads as a gift. It gives me a chance to impact somebody's life, to help them. It gives me an opportunity to provide a solution for that individual. Well, Matt, what solution can you really offer when they got no money? You realize money is, well, let me say this right. You realize that money is only one factor amongst many. You see this in all stages of the game of different businesses. You don't necessarily need money to get what you need. Everybody has got this whole mentality like I used to have. My son will attest to this 10 years ago, right, Josh? You'll know that was my mentality. You got to have money to be successful. You got to have money to make decisions. You got to have money to do things. And that was a form of excuse I had. And it's not simply not true. I give you an example. When I was working for that community, assisted living community, I was only in the office one day a week on Saturday. The other days, I went in the office twice a week, I believe it was, for like an hour each time for a meeting. The rest of the time, I was out with social workers, physicians, doing lunch and learns, all the seemingly boring stuff. I felt like I wasn't even working sometimes, but it was a lot of fun. And paid a little bit, paid quite well for doing all that stuff that I was doing. But every Saturday I had to be in the office because the other marketing directors needed a day off. So I was in the office. Well, those were the times when I actually had an opportunity to work leads or give tours because I didn't do that stuff during the week. That wasn't my thing. So, but I remember this one guy, we had a situation and I was talking to him and the family was telling me that, their dad had $1,000 roughly. I know it was a little over 1,050, just a couple thousand, and about $1,000 each month of dispensable income that he could use towards assisted living. Well, what's your first thought when you talk to somebody that has $1,000 of income towards assisted living? Not going to work, right? Doesn't work. Who's going to accept anybody with $1,000? So what I did was I teach you. You got to continue to hear the story. You got to ask good questions. So I was going along asking, come to find out, this guy's got a house. Didn't do too much of that at the time. I'm thinking, okay, got a house. What are you doing with the house? Well, dad needs to sell his house. Cool. Let's get some more information about the house. Now, maybe it helped because I was a real estate appraiser back in my 20s. Maybe it helped me a little bit. I started thinking more along the lines of comparables and everything else. So I started kind of getting my real estate hat on a little bit. Sold some manufactured homes here in California before I got on all this stuff. So kind of went the real estate way. And then I was able to get a game plan for this individual. And the game plan was, man, I wonder if the community would let him stay here for all the money he has per month, which is only roughly $1,000. But then he signs something, if he's willing to do it, that he would give the rest of the money towards assisted living, utilizing the sale of his house. I didn't think I had a shot. I didn't think I had a prayer to get that approved. They accepted it. They thought it was okay. And it took like 4 or 5 months to get his house sold and get the money through escrow. I mean, just get the money, and then he paid back payments. And then, I don't know how much he got for the house. I wasn't part of that deal. I just, I got the deal going. But I'm saying that you need to be a problem solver. Look for solutions for people that come your way. You hear me talk about this here and there about attracting leads, right? And I'm a firm believer that you attract to you the things that you think, the way you act. There's a lot of different, it's just energy. I think you attract it to you. So I look at it differently. When people come in my path, they come call me on the phone, email me, whatever it is. I feel like, man, I need to help them. So I don't go right to the money. And I've told you guys, even during the Senior Pro Academy, the old version, how I used to do the whole don't ask them what their budget is, don't ask them what they can afford, but flip the sheet over, start talking about the market. And I would go through the whole process before I got to the money. The reason is because I'm looking for solutions to their problem. A lot of your senior referral agents, senior placement agents won't do that. They'll make an excuse. Well, I can't help them because he only said he had $1,000 per month. Well, that's the case. I mean, for most people, that's probably true. You can't help them, but try to find a solution. Don't make excuses, but have solutions. And excuses, a lot of times we make excuses like, well, it seems like only leads I'm getting are low income leads. Only people I talk to, or I don't get any leads at all, or, no social worker ever returns my call. And we start reasoning and we start making excuses for why all that stuff's not happening instead of analyzing it and coming up with solutions to why possibly it may not be happening. Why isn't the social worker calling you back? I was talking with Chris yesterday. We went through a couple things about leaving a message for a social worker. I've only told you guys one thing, but now I've got a second one. It just came to mind last night. I was telling Chris a little bit. I usually leave a message of curiosity, but you also can leave a message of concern. So if you're calling a social worker, here's a pro tip for you. Call a social worker. You finally get to the voicemail. You know her name's Rebecca, whatever her name is. You don't tell them everything about you, who you are, what you do, and all that stuff. All you do is go, yes, Rebecca, this is Matt Stafford. Can you please call me back at 559-210-4152? Thank you. Just like that. Tonality, to the point. Don't get salesy. Oh, hi, Rebecca. This is Matt Stafford. Can you please call me back? 559-210-4152. Yes, that's 559-210-4152. Thank you. Have a great day. Curiosity and concern. Because I'm all about solving problems. Now, this is off the subject, but since I just went to it, what happens when she calls you back? You need a game plan. Chris and I talked about how his schedule's getting ready to free up. Sorry, Chris, I'm using an example. It's kind of fresh in my mind. So we talked yesterday. He's getting ready to get to a place he can make 50 phone calls a week. And went through mathematically what that would look like in percentages. Should get 20%. So it should be a place where he can actually have 2 or 3 appointments every time he makes 50 calls, with the hopes of getting one that will utilize his services. You do that, you got 4 contacts every month. It's a lot of phone calls. But again, are you making excuses? I can't make phone calls. I'm not good on the phone. I don't handle rejection that well. People just don't like to hear my voice. Come on, guys. I got the most country accent in the world. I live in California for the last 23 years. Still talk like I'm from Virginia. Some people like it. Some people don't. When I was single, I used to tell girls when I would talk to them, say, hey, turn around look the other direction, and you'll think I'm Matthew McConaughey. But I know when you turn back around when I'm not him, you'll be disappointed. So keep looking that direction. Right. So, but don't make excuses for why you're not doing what you're doing. Find solutions. And I would encourage you, if there's something like making phone calls or cold calling or something that you just don't like, not good at, I would encourage you to actually start doing some of those things intentionally because you're hyper intentional about your business. And maybe that's an area of fear, an area of weakness, whatever it may be, but go ahead and do it anyway. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Now, you may not be pleasantly surprised with the results. You might get a lot of no's. That's okay. But you know what happens by doing all that? You end up growing. You end up getting better at your craft. You end up getting better at asking questions, better at problem solving, those type of things. All right, let's get to the next one. All right. The O, what people focus on a lot of times, and I'm going to put opportunities here, but actually it's missed opportunities. Instead, they need to focus on their pipeline. This happens in sales, happens in this business all the time. And I know because I talk to a lot of students, coach a lot of students, and it's like missed opportunities. I work with this person for 40 hours. I work with this person for 4 weeks and nothing. So what happens is a missed opportunity. So you feel deflated. You feel like it was a waste of time. Why is a waste of time? And maybe so, because your focus is on the missed opportunity and not on your pipeline. I'm here to tell you, for one missed opportunity, but you got 10 in your pipeline, you're not really overly concerned with that one missed opportunity. But because this is the only thing in your pipeline and it's a missed opportunity, it hits right to the core of who you are. So, excuses. Got anything? Follow along? It's kind of dumb about design a little bit. Excuses that we make. Then we get a missed opportunity. Then we kind of just recycle back up here, like, why I can't do this because of all these excuses and because I just get missed opportunities. Instead of focusing on what I must do to provide solutions to increase my pipeline. That right there will change your life. What must you do to provide solutions to increase your pipeline? And when you have so many in your pipeline, losing one or two doesn't hurt as bad. Now, doesn't mean we celebrate when we lose somebody. We want to help everybody. I get that. But you know, in the real world, you guys, you can't help everybody. You just can't. It doesn't work that way. I'd like to think it does. I like to think because, man, why would they choose any other referral agent in the area, in the Fresno, Clovis, California area than me? But you know what? It happens every day. It happens every day. That's why other referral agents are still in business because it happens every day. So I still have missed opportunity. I look at that as a missed opportunity, even though I didn't even talk to the people because I had no way of knowing how they got that lead, but it's a missed opportunity. So what can I do to increase my pipeline? What can I do to get people in that funnel? You got to constantly get people up top. That's why when you flip it, instead of a missed opportunity, you have somebody in this business, they get a move in. Woo, baby. They get a move in, they get 5K, they get one right behind that one, they get another 5K. Lo and behold, in 2 weeks, they've made 10 grand. They are putting on the brakes, celebrating, going to have a martini, celebrate with their friends, kicking back. And their pipeline, no one's in it. So they made that money only to find out 2, 3, 4 weeks later, they're right back in the same situation. That happened to me first year of business. So it must have been 2019. I was talking to a marketing director And she was asking me, and I forgot the months. I want to say she asked me about April. So we must have been talking in May. So she was asking me, what happened last month? How'd you do? I said, we did fairly well. I can't remember the exact number. We did fairly well. And she goes, yeah, that's what I heard. This other guy that does the business, he said he had a really good month. She goes, but how did the next month go? I went, it went really well. I was being consistent. I was being pretty consistent. She goes, well, he didn't get anything that month. I said, wait a minute. He got like 8 move-ins in 1 month. And then the next month he got 0. How is that humanly possible? That means his pipeline was nothing. And I said, I know what he did. I didn't know the guy at the time. I know him now, but I didn't know him at the time. I told her, I said, I bet he went on vacation or did something and didn't work for 2 or 3 weeks. She said, that's exactly what he did. He went on vacation like 3 weeks with his wife. I said, yes, he had nothing in his pipeline, get all that money, and then came back around the next month starting from scratch. When you have no pipeline, you're starting from scratch. I'm here to tell you that is no fun whatsoever. It's more fun because I've been on both sides of the spectrum. It's more fun to have people in your pipeline than not have it, because it comes back to this one. I must provide a solution, so I have people in my pipeline versus I can't make excuses. I missed opportunities. So you got to have people in your pipeline. So if you're just getting started, this might be irrelevant. But if you've been in the business for a while and you got some move-ins, when you get a move-in, celebrate momentarily. I mean, I treat it like this. Now, those of you who played sports will get this. If you've never played sports, you might not get it. That's okay. I treat a move-in as a win. I don't treat a move-in like I just won the championship. Too many people get a move-in and they treat it like they won it all. They won the championship and the season's over. No, you got to move in, congratulate yourself, celebrate for a moment. You got a W. Now move on to the next game. Move on to the next person. But you can't do that if your pipeline is not full. So if your pipeline is not full, ask yourself questions that will stimulate thought, that will give you ideas to increase your pipeline. I can't tell you how many times my wife will testify to this, and I think my son knows. He doesn't let her. He hears about it sometimes. Do every day for the longest time. I can't remember how long now. It's been no more than a year, so maybe close to a year. But every day, I spend concentrated time in the middle of my day. Now I do a morning routine. You guys all know about. Not here to bore you with that. But during the day, I'll spend a concentrated time thinking strategically about the business. I'm not thinking about dinner. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do when work's done that day. I'm not thinking about the weekend. I'm giving concentrated time, thought, intentionally on the business of how to move the needle in my favor. What can I do right now, today, this week, to move the needle in my favor? That's how you increase your pipeline. So if it's dry or it's consistently shallow, ask yourself better questions of how can you fill the pipeline. Do it, as I said earlier, is your life dependent on it? I'm here to tell you, if your life depended on you getting a move in the next 30 days, each and every one of us will do it. And I'm here to tell you, because I'm on the other side, getting a move in is not that hard, guys. You've got all the information in Senior Placement Institute. You've got the round table. If your pipeline is shallow, empty, you should be at every round table that's there. You should be there 5 minutes early. Can't wait to ask Brittany a question. No excuse for it. You should be at every workshop. You should text me, blow my phone up. I don't care. You know, I still talk to you guys. I don't see you on Thursday, but still talk to you. But if I am struggling, I want to know what I must do. But then you've got to be open-minded to say, okay, I'm going to be coachable. What you tell me to do, I'm going to do it. How many have all gone to some instructor, coach, mentor, someone you said, well, you know, life's not going too well. What should I do? And then your mentor, coach, or whoever tells you what to do, and you're like, well, that sounds like a good idea. I'll give it some thought. Think about it. Dude, your pipeline is dry. There's water. There's so many people moving, you guys, today. So many people that are moving to senior homes, communities. So much action going on. You just got to get in the middle of it, get in the action. So, all right, let's get to the last one. All right. This is the one I wasn't even going to put up here because it doesn't flow with my little thing here necessarily, but it's something that I've heard a lot in this business, not only from my students, but from other people, like people in my area that know of us, and they ask me questions and, you know, things like that. But they always want what I call, and this is, the W is words, but you have to put what I call magical words. They all know the magical word. Like when you got the attention of a social worker, started getting leads. What exactly did you say to her? When you called her, what was the exact phrase you used? How did you describe your business? They want the magical words. You know what the secret sauce is? Because this is the focus of people that have problems, making mistakes. That's all a mistake is, right? It's just an action, or, you know, it's your judgment that you're misguided, you're wrong in some way. But magical words, I always lean to this. And I would encourage each and every one of you to do the same thing, because you got to lead to being, oh, forgot the E. Did I spell it right? Authentic. You've got to lean toward being authentic. I know all of you, and I know all of you are very sweet, kind-hearted people. And you are nothing more than being real, genuine about your business. But I'm here to tell you, that is your secret sauce. It's not magical words. It's knowing the process. It's knowing the business inside and out. It's knowing your market. There's tactical things you need to do and learn. That's in the Senior Placement Institute. That's at a round table. That's at the workshops. That's blowing up my phone, whatever you want to do to get the answer. But I'm here to tell you, it's not some magical word. It's being authentic. I can't tell you how many people, I won't use myself as an example. You might think it's being braggadocious, but I've heard other people in sales, other professions, people that use their services, and sometimes they can't wrap their head around why they trust that individual, but they just do. There's something about that individual I just trust. I just like the way she just seems real. And what they're saying is she's authentic. He's authentic. He or she's being themselves. And that's something that no competitor can get around you. When somebody else jumps in your area and they start knowing the process and all that, they can never be you. They can try to act like you. I'd like to see somebody in California try to talk like me. That'd be funny. You know, they can try to act like you, but it doesn't work. So focus on those 7 things. I'll repeat them and answer any questions you have. If you have not, we'll finish. But focus on your brand. Focus on the big picture. Why it is what you do. Focus on long-term impact. Not that you could make an impact, but you are going to have an impact. And plenty of seniors are going to be helped because of you. And if you quit because you can't do it, plenty of seniors are not going to go assisted in the right way that you can do it, because you must do this. It's a calling. It's something within you. Whatever word you want to say, you feel like it's something you're drawn to. You must do this. And because you must do it, you're not going to give up with excuses, but you're going to have solutions. And you're going to ask great questions to get solutions. And you're going to forget about those missed opportunities. Not in a bad way, like you don't care about people, but just like, okay, it didn't work out, didn't work out. It's not my focus. My focus is on my pipeline. And because my pipeline's full, I'm able to weather that storm of missing an opportunity and then just be authentic. That's what I have for you guys today. Hopefully it's helpful.